Board, IASB. It's a great pleasure and honor to present the ISB's project. And thank you very much to Mr. Vientiane, President of IFA, Mr. Sonesai Sarafayed, President of LCPAA, Professor How to of IFA, and representative of the Ministry of Finance, and organizing today's event and giving me this opportunity. I also Hello everyone, I'm Rika Suzuki, a member of the International Accounting Standards Board. I am and honored to present this project and activities to you. Thank you very much to Mr. Vientiane, President of IFA, Professor Shahata Yutman, Board Member of IFAC, and representative of the Ministry of Finance. Republic for hosting and organizing today's event and giving me this fantastic opportunity. I also presenters and panelists from AOSSG, IFAC, and CLMV for participating and sharing your thoughts and experiences. I appreciate AFA's member organization's leadership in making it successful. I think today's audience has mixed interest in various aspects of IFA's work. So I will try to provide comprehensive set of information about LSP and its work in today's presentation. I will start by explaining the ISP's profile, including the existing work plan and providing deep diving information about a couple of major projects, the post-implementation reviews of revenue and financial instrument standards, and the connectivity between the ISB and our sister board, the ISSB. First, I will walk through the overview of the ISB and the IFRS Foundation, including our current work plan and the future, the 5 years work plan from 2022 to 2026. The IFRS Foundation was created in 2001 to develop globally accepted accounting standards. Its predecessor is the International Accounting Standards Committee, which was established in 1973. The IFRS Foundation is a not-for-profit public interest organization. Our mission is to develop IFRS accounting standards that bring transparency, accountability, and efficiency to financial markets worldwide. Let's look at the world map to find who applies the IFRS accounting standards in the next slide. This slide shows the result of the IFRS Foundation's research and analysis. Out of 167 jurisdictions, 144, 87% require IFRS accounting standards for all or most publicly accountable companies. These jurisdictions are shown in gray on the map. However, IFRS influence is more extensive than the 144 jurisdictions with mandatory adoption. In other jurisdictions, like my home country, Japan, IFRS is permitted. In some jurisdictions, like China and India, IFRS forms the basis for a national GAAP. Let me introduce you the structure of the IFRS Foundation. The Foundation has a three-tier governance model. The trustees are responsible for strategy and oversight of the standard-setting boards, and the trustees are in turn accountable to a monitoring board of capital market authorities responsible for corporate reporting in their jurisdictions. The monitoring board provides public accountability for the organization. The IFRS Foundation has two boards to create standards. The ISB creates IFRS Accounting Standards. On the 3rd of November 2021, the IFRS Foundation trustees announced the creation of a new standard-setting board, the International Sustainability Standards Board, ISSB, to create a comprehensive global baseline of high-quality sustainability disclosure standards called IFRS Sustainability Disclosure Standards. The ISB can have a maximum of 14 members. Currently, it comprises 14 full members, including myself. The main qualifications for membership in the ISB are professional competence and recent relevant professional experience. Let's look at the work of the ISB. There are 6 key focuses to the work of the ISB: developing IFRS accounting standards, promoting consistent adoption and application of IFRS accounting standards, IFRS for SMEs Accounting Standard, understandability and accessibility, engaging with stakeholders, and digital financial reporting, including development and maintenance of IFRS taxonomies. Among those 6 activities, there will be a separate session for the IFRS for SMEs Accounting Standard later in this event. So, I will focus on the rest of our focuses in my presentation. Before explaining each focus area for the ISB separately, I will give you the outcomes of our 3rd agenda consultation, which determined our activities and work plan for 2022 to 2026. The ISB undertakes public consultation on its activities and its work plan every 5 years. From March 2001 through April 2022, we proceeded with the 3rd agenda consultation process, including engaging with our stakeholders. In July 2022, we published a feedback statement summarizing the stakeholders' feedback on the request for information and the ISB's activities and work plan for 2022 to 2026. I will give you a few highlights from the key messages. The ISB decided to leave its current level of focus on its main activities largely unchanged, but to increase slightly its current level of focus on digital financial reporting and understandability and accessibility of IFRS accounting standards, which will indirectly support their consistent application. Stakeholders sent the ISB a strong message that it should advance the projects already underway before starting new projects. Consistent with this feedback, the ISB has continued working on the project on its current work plan. Considering stakeholders' capacity and its own capacity, the ISB decided to include in its research project pipeline 2 new projects, intangible assets and a statement of cash flows. Intangible Asset Project will comprehensively review IS 38 intangible assets and Statement of Cash Flows and Related Matter Project. As part of its initial work, the ISB will consider whether the project should aim to review IS 7 Statement of Cash Flows comprehensively or instead to make more targeted improvements. And the ISB added a project on climate-related risks in the financial statement to its maintenance project pipeline. This climate-related risk project will investigate accounting matters raised by respondents on this topic to decide if any narrow-scope amendment to the accounting standards are necessary. An important part of the ISB's work is to support the consistent adoption and application of IFRS accounting standards. We help stakeholders obtain a common understanding of the requirements to support the consistent application of IFRS accounting standards, because it protects IFRS accounting standards for the benefit of users of financial statements. There are various activities and tools that we use to support a consistent application. These include IFRS interpretations committees, agenda decisions, stakeholder training, articles, webinars, and conferences. We also create transition resource groups to ensure consistent adoption of new major IFRS accounting standards, such as IFRS 17 insurance contracts. As mentioned, we work hard to help practice by providing useful tools to support consistent application and adoption. At the same time, we are mindful of neither undermining the benefit of principle-based standards nor unduly disrupting the established practice of applying our standards. We always face the challenge to assess whether to take action or not. In the IFRS Foundation, we have the Translations, Adoption and Copyright Team, TAC team, contributing to supporting the first-time adoption of our standards and enhancing the understandability and accessibility of our standards. This TAC team is the first point of contact for new adoption inquiries. If your jurisdiction plans to adopt IFRS standards or IFRS for SME standard, I encourage you to contact the TAC team early in the process to discuss your roadmap to adoption before making definite plans and issuing a formal roadmap. The team will discuss with you the method of how you plan to adopt the standards into law. Based on the initial discussions, the team will offer guidance on the IFRS Foundation licensing policy, translation IFRS standards, and using the IFRS brand. The TAC team can also help establish a support network where fast adoption guidance, best practice, and experiences can be shared. The TAC team continues to offer support to national standard setters after first-time adoption. The TAC team can serve as a first point of contact for technical queries and linguistic and content queries where such arise during the translation of the standards. The TAC team also has a role in supporting collaboration with the Foundation's due process to help make IFRS standards globally acceptable. Some participants might be interested in why the ISP considered we need to make a slight increase in its focus on digital financial reporting. I will explain why. By digitalizing financial reports, the information in those reports become machine-readable, allowing investors to access and analyze information more efficiently, including information in foreign languages. This efficiency can result in investors expanding the population of the company they cover and their investment choices. Expanded investor coverage can provide companies with greater access to capital, thereby reducing the cost of capital. Digital financial reporting can also assist regulators in their market oversight activities and enforcement reviews. The IFRS digital taxonomies for accounting and sustainability disclosures provide a digital structure, achieving globally comparable digital financial reports. We believe global adoption of both IFRS digital taxonomies for accounting and sustainability disclosures is fundamental to globally comparable digital financial reports. Let me dive in and explain our standard setting activities more. On this slide, you can see the life cycle of our standards from adding new projects through the agenda consultation to publishing new standards. However, our work will not stop even after the publication of our standards. We continue supporting the consistent application and conduct post-implementation reviews to make sure our standards are working as intended. We currently have 3 research projects in the work plan. This stage includes monitoring issues and preliminary work on topic identified as problematic. The research conducted by the ISB staff is discussed by the ISB in its public meetings. Research sometimes suggests that there is no problem that merits further action, but in many cases, it results in a discussion paper where the problem is developed and solutions are explored. When the ISB decided that we have sufficient support to decide the project direction, we move to the next stage. The next stage is to develop proposals for standard setting. We do this when we are satisfied that there is a problem that needs solving and that we can develop a feasible solution. Normally, this leads to the publication of exposure draft. The ISB issues exposure draft to get views from stakeholders on the ISB's proposals. The feedback received is discussed by the ISB as part of its deliberation before issuing the final accounting standard. Currently, we have 8 projects at this stage. In the next few slides, I will focus on 3 selected projects with the light blue stars on the slide. And the details of the IFRS for SMEs standard will be presented by Mr. Sampson, the ISB technical staff member, in your afternoon session. Regarding a project or business combination, disclosures, goodwill, and impairment, we started this project after completing our post-implementation review of IFRS 3 business combinations. In response to stakeholder feedback, we aim to improve the information provided by companies about business combinations at a reasonable cost. In 2022, we made 2 substantial decisions on how companies could disclose better information about business combinations and whether to retain the impairment-only model. Regarding a package of enhanced disclosure requirements, we tentatively decided to require companies to disclose some of the information only for strategically important business combinations, but not for all material business combinations. We also tentatively decided to exempt companies from disclosing some of the information required, only if disclosure of that information can be expected to prejudice seriously the achievement of the objective of the business combination. Regarding the subsequent measurement of goodwill, we tentatively decided to retain the existing impairment-only model because we had no compelling case to justify exploring reintroducing amortization of goodwill, either to improve the information provided to investors or to reduce costs and complexity. Considering those significant decisions, we decided to move the project to our standard setting work plan. Some refinement in the package of disclosure requirement and improvement in the impairment test are under deliberation. Once we complete our deliberations on those topics, we will decide whether to publish the exposure draft. If you are interested in this project, please read my board member's article on this project. The article explains more detailed information about our deliberations. Let me explain the primary financial statement project. This project is very close to the end of the standard setting cycle. Our project on primary financial statement was, amongst users, the top-ranked project in the ISB's 2015 agenda consultation. The objective of the primary financial statement project is to improve communication in financial statement with a focus on information included in the statement of profit or loss. The exposure draft has 3 main proposals. First, it will require additionally defined subtotals in the statement of profit or loss. Second, it will require disclosures about management performance measures. And third, it will strengthen the requirement for disaggregating information. Feedback on the proposals in the exposure draft issued in December 2019 was positive, and stakeholders are supportive of the ISB proceeding with the project. Until the third quarter of 2022, we made key decisions in response to feedback on the exposure draft and conducted outreach sessions with various stakeholders to test whether those solutions would work in practice. The outcomes from the outreach sessions were positive. So we are now focusing on final fine-tuning for the new standard, and will decide on whether to re-export and the effective date and transition reliefs in a few months. The next is about the rate-regulated activities, similar to the primary financial statement project. Since publishing the exposure draft regulatory assets and regulatory liabilities in January 2021, the ISB has made significant progress on this project. During 2021, the ISB undertook extensive outreach to gather stakeholders' feedback on the exposure draft proposals. In 2022, the ISB started its deliberation and reached tentative decision on several of the main proposals in the exposure draft. The ISB aimed to develop requirements for companies that are subject to the rate regulation to provide investors with information about the effect of differences in timing generated by the rate regulatory framework. When applying the final requirements, companies will reflect these differences in timing by recognizing regulatory assets and regulatory liabilities in their statement of financial position and related regulatory income and regulatory expense in their statement of financial performance. When the new IFRS accounting standard is issued, that standard will replace IFRS 14 regulatory deferral account. Let's look at the post-implementation review, the PIRs. First, I'll explain what the post-implementation reviews are. The ISB, as a part of its due process, performs a PIR after a new accounting standard or a major amendment to an accounting standard has been applied internationally for at least 2 years. The objective of PIR is to assess whether the effect of applying the new requirement on investors, preparers, auditors, and regulators are as the ISB intended when developing those requirements. Regarding IFRS 9 financial instruments, the ISB recently completed its PIR of the classification and measurement requirements. In December 2022, the ISB published the project report and feedback statement in which the ISB concluded these classification and measurement requirements are working as intended. Still in analyzing the feedback, the ISB decided to make narrow scope amendment to IFRS 9 and IFRS 7 to address some of the findings from the post-implementation review. The ISB published the exposure draft amendments to the classification and measurement of financial statement in March 2023. The exposure draft is still open for comment until the 19th of July 2023. Regarding IFRS 16 leases and IFRS 9 hedge accounting requirements, we will deliberate when to start the PIR of those two standards in the second half of this year. We decided to begin the PIR of the IFRS 9 impairment requirement in the second half of 2022. In the July 2022 meeting, the ISB discussed the project plan for the first phase of the PIR and identified matters to be examined. The items listed on the slide are topics for asking questions in the request for information, which will be published in May 2023. We decided to begin the PIR of IFRS 15, revenue from contracts with customers, in the second half of 2022. In our March 2023 meeting, we discussed findings from the first phase of the PIR of IFRS 15 and decided which matters to ask stakeholders about in the request for information it planned to publish to form the next phase of the PIR. The items listed on the slide are topics for asking questions in the request for information, which will be published in the second quarter of 2023. Let me explain the connectivity between the ISB and the ISSB. The benefit of connectivity were an important consideration when the IFRS Foundation created the ISSB to operate alongside the IASB. Stakeholders consistently highlighted the benefit to be gained from having two standard-setting boards within the IFRS Foundation. Both focused on providing information to inform investment decisions. The ultimate outcome of connectivity is holistic, comprehensive, and coherent general purpose financial reports. Connectivity in our products and connectivity in our processes contribute to that goal. Investors are primary audience for general purpose financial reports, which include sustainability-related financial disclosures and financial statements. Sustainability-related financial disclosures and financial statements complement each other. Investors want to understand how matters reported in financial statement and in sustainability-related financial disclosures are connected. To achieve connectivity in reports, we need connectivity in our products, our standards and digital taxonomies. Thus, the two boards are committed to ensuring there is the compatibility of concept. There are no gap or unintended overlaps between ISB and ISSB standards and our digital taxonomies. To achieve connectivity in our products, we are also building connectivity in our processes. We have established practices to facilitate knowledge sharing and coordination between the ISB and ISSB. For example, the board and staff regularly update each other on their activities during and between public board meetings. We are still in the early days of our connectivity journey. Therefore, our work will evolve over time as we learn from each other and as the wider financial reporting ecosystem develops. In its forthcoming consultation on agenda priorities, the ISB will ask its stakeholders for feedback on its work plan priorities, including whether the ISSB should undertake a project to move beyond simply connecting information in the financial statement and sustainability-related financial disclosure to closer integration in reporting. Considering the stakeholders' feedback, how to approach the ISB's practice statement project of management commentary and consideration of integrated reporting framework will be determined. Therefore, your feedback on the ISB's request for information is critical for the two boards' future work plan and connectivity in the general purpose financial report. We will look forward to your feedback on the forthcoming request for information on the ISSB's future priorities, which will be published in May 2023. Before concluding my presentation, I want to share our helpful tools and materials on IFRS Foundation website. Various resources are available on our website for you to explore our projects and activities. So please check out our website if you are interested in any one of the topics or projects we are working on. Let me conclude here. I hope you found something interesting or useful in today's presentation. Thank you very much for your attendance. I hope you will have productive sessions for the rest of today's event. Thank you.